For a look through the international papers. Diptyka, we're going to start with a look in Brazil, and the reactions have been pouring in for that Supreme Court decision that had decided that Lula da Silva could be put behind bars sooner rather than later.
Exactly. It comes just as we're about 6 months away from Brazil's national elections, and former President Lula who was once widely adored as president for fighting for the poor, was hoping to run again. Well, that's sort of been dashed now. Well, it has been dashed now. The Supreme Court ruled to uphold his prison conviction for corruption. One user on Twitter hails the decision as a sort of national triumph, as you see here with a cartoon figure of Lula in a prison jumpsuit. In her tweet, she says, "I am Brazilian and I am proud of it." He does have some support from other political leaders like the embattled Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. He's tweeted out saying it's not just Brazil, but the whole world which has oppressed you, adding that this quote, injustice hurts my soul. Now, Lula won't escape prison, but it's not clear yet when he'll start serving his term. The Brazilian paper O Estadão reminds us that the Supreme Court ruling was far from unanimous and that there are still some avenues of appeal.
Indeed, a very divisive issue, and there's also a divisive topic over in the UK with British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson facing criticism once again. This time for allegedly discrediting Russia as the culprit behind that poisoning of former spy Sergei Skripal.
Well, this is from The Atlantic, Eve. Over the past month, Russia has gone to great pains to deny any involvement in that poison attack in Salisbury on former Russian spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter. Well, it turns out they needed not to look any further than Boris Johnson himself, the UK Foreign Secretary, whom The Atlantic at least calls the wild card in this whole case. Johnson, a couple of weeks ago, told German media that lab scientists, a British lab, had personally told him that Russian agents were behind that attack. Well, the problem is the CEO of that lab has come out saying, "We never said anything like that. This is completely false." Now, Moscow, not surprisingly, has sort of pounced on this occasion, on this disparity, to discredit British claims about Russia being involved in that attack. Boris Johnson, always fodder for the British cartoonists as well. He does have a proclivity for diplomatic gaffes, which is really sent up by this cartoonist here in the Times. Here you see him pitting a search warrant for Vladimir Putin, but actually nailing his own hand in the process.
Yeah, okay, I can see the pun there. But let's move to Spain. The press there are reporting on the arrest of a former employee at the Swiss branch of HSBC who revealed fraud at that bank.
That man is Hervé Falciani. Now, this is a truly Europe-wide story. He is a Franco-Italian former computer analyst who was working for the Swiss branch of HSBC. He was sentenced to prison by the Swiss in 2015 for economic espionage. Basically, he leaked a whole cache of documents alleging HSBC fraud in what was known as the famous Swiss Leaks scandal. Well, Falciani actually skipped out on his trial and has avoided Switzerland ever since, until now at least. With Spanish cooperation, authorities in Madrid have now arrested him, according to the Spanish daily El Mundo, and Switzerland wants him extradited so he can serve that prison term. Now, what's interesting, though, in this is that the arrest comes at a very opportune time, coinciding, of course, with Spanish demands for the extradition of exiled Catalan leaders across Europe. Well, Ara, which is a Catalan paper, says perhaps this arrest by Spain was a goodwill gesture towards Europe, Madrid hoping that its neighbours might reciprocate the move to bring or at least extradite Catalan leaders to Spain.
One to watch. Staying in Spain, a video of the royal family during an Easter Mass service has gone viral now.
It's gone viral, basically in a nutshell, because it shows that even the royal family sometimes can't help but air their dirty family disputes. In this video, we see Queen Letizia and her mother-in-law, Queen Sofia, apparently in a tiff arguing over Letizia's 2 young daughters. Now, the Daily Telegraph reports that Sofia wanted that the 79-year-old Queen Sofia, she wanted to pose for a photo with her granddaughters during this mass, but it appears that their mother, Letizia, sort of shoves her mother-in-law in this video. It's gone viral. King Felipe then intervenes to sort of calm the dispute between his mother and his wife. It's really Oedipal. The video has been viewed millions of times, and it is a huge embarrassment to the Spanish royal family. Letizia, it must be said, is sort of on the losing end of this. many accusing her of disrespecting her mother-in-law, who is, of course, Queen by blood.
In another way, it might just make the royal family a bit more relatable. I mean,
and appealing.
You know, mothers-in-law, daughter-in-law, always a bit the same relationship. Finally, from you, Diptyka, a story of sweet vengeance, in every sense of the word, from a young woman who was fat-shamed.
Well, a young teenager was standing in line at a bakery recently when she overheard a woman behind her referring to her as a fat B word, using the expletive. The customer said she hoped this young teenager wouldn't buy all the cupcakes. This teenager is called Viga Blossom. Well, she was planning to buy just 6 cupcakes. After she heard those comments, she spent $54 to buy every single cupcake in that bakery, just to spite that rude woman. Talk about sweet
Excellent reaction. I don't know if I'd have thought of it as quickly, but I do approve. Diptyka Laurent, thanks a lot for that wrap up with the international paper.